What if the Bay woke up tomorrow to a push alert that didn't blink? Kuminga in Beam Team Purple. A NorCal twist that makes your coffee taste like battery acid. Imagine Steph lacing up at Chase while the old Oracle ghosts start buzzing, and across I-80, the Kings light the beam with a kid we watched grow from raw to terrifying. If your stomach just dropped, good. That's urgency. That's the feeling of a front office on the clock and a rival daring you to blink. Time doesn't stop for potential, and windows don't wait for anyone, not even a human highlight about to hit his prime. Here's what I'm promising before we break the seal. I'm going to walk you through why the Kings have circled this exact moment, what a real package would have to smell like, which protections are non-starters, how apron math makes every name matter, and how the basketball looks on both ends if the Bay and the Beam swap DNA. I'll show you the breadcrumbs that sparked this buzz, the pressure points that could pop it, and the scenarios that turn rumor into transaction without torching the future. No spoilers yet. If you've lived every second from We Believe to 73-9 to Game 6 Clay, you know the difference between noise and the thing behind it. Stay with me to the horn. You're watching Warriors News Fan Report. Hit subscribe, drop a like, ring the bell. Around here it's grown men hoops talk, cap levers, rotation minutes, playoff possessions, and the truth you can take to the group chat without sounding like a clown. Let's set the table like it's May and the building is shaking. The Warriors aren't in the business of selling hope. They're in the business of manufacturing margins. Steph still bends gravity. Draymond still scripts defensive chaos. Clay still has nights where the net turns into a hula hoop. But the next 6 months are about stitching a rotation that holds water when the series slows to a crawl. That's why Kuminga has been both the future and the fuse. He's the punch you can't coach. Rim pressure, violent first step, switchable enough to guard up, long enough to erase a mistake. He's also the development curve you can't shortcut. Young wings don't learn playoff geometry in a weekend. When you chase banners with a 37-year-old sun at the center of your solar system, every rep is a referendum. You either believe the runway pays off in April, or you cash the chip before the clock dings. Now the headline you clicked for. The noise out of league circles this week is simple, sharp, and radioactive. The Warriors and Kings have reheated a sign-and-trade framework that ships Jonathan Kuminga to Sacramento, with the core returning piece built around Malik Monk and a 2030 first. The sticking point isn't mysterious. It's the language every GM memorizes in his sleep, protection. Sacramento wants a safety net on a pick that far out. Golden State has no appetite for that safety net. The phrase nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone understands, is Metero Loco. Drop the protection, or don't bother bringing the pen. Nothing officially inked, no handshake behind a curtain, but this isn't a screenwriter's daydream. It's the kind of test smart rivals give each other when both see a path to get louder, faster. Why the Kings? Why right now? Because they've built a sustainable offense around Fox and Sabonis, with Keegan Murray stretching the floor and Mike Brown's playbook humming. But they've crashed into the same playoff wall twice. Half-court shot creation when the whistle tightens, and you can't trick the game. Kuminga is a battering ram with ballet feet. He turns a static possession into 2 free throws or a dunk in 2 dribbles. Put him on a weak side cut while Sabonis runs DHO, and you can't both stay home on shooters and keep the rim clean. Pair him with Fox in the open floor, and third quarters become avalanches. He's imperfect. He's also exactly the kind of imperfect that terrifies coaches in 7-game series. Why would the Warriors listen to any of this? Because Monk is not a throw-in. He's instant offense with big boy reads, a late-clock bucket who doesn't need a diet of 16 shots to stay happy, a hand-in-glove partner for Curry minutes, and the second unit alike. You can run him off wide pin downs to stress a top lock, park him as a spacer to punish overhelp, or hand him a second side pick and roll when Steph sits and say, get us 8 clean points while we buy breath. In the modern NBA, guard juice that scales up and down with lineups is helium, and Monk's helium doesn't float away when the lights get hot. The calculus is brutal and simple. Are you better in April with Steph, Draymond, Clay, Wiggins, and a downhill force still finding his playoff compass, or with Steph, Draymond, Clay, Wiggins, Monk, and an unprotected rifle shot at 20-30? That last word is the hinge. Unprotected. The reason the Warriors have stared at the phone instead of sprinting to the airport is the same reason the Kings have gripped their pen cap until it snaps. A 20-30 first unprotected is the difference between a responsible bet and a franchise-altering mistake. Drop protections, and you're admitting you'll be good enough not to bleed in 6 years. Keep protections, and you're admitting you might not. The Bay doesn't trade hope for, maybe? If you're going to send a 22-year-old freight train down the highway to your neighbor, you don't do it for paperwork. You do it for a ticket that could become a top 5 pick if the wrong ankle tweaks at the wrong time in the wrong season. That's not greed. That's adulthood. The apron math sits behind all of this like a bouncer at the rope. Under the new rules, it's not as simple as vibes and highlights. Every dollar and every slot narrows your options later. That's why any live framework has always included extra bodies beyond the headline names, not because someone's enamored with a throw-in, but because the spreadsheet says you need ballast. It might be a Warriors wing who has to change zip codes to balance the books. It might be a Kings contract that makes your calculator nod. Don't get hung up on the third name on a leak sheet. Get hung up on the fact that cap mechanics can both kill and create deals smarter than basketball arguments do. Now, breathe. And let's picture the hoop part, because that's where fans live and this channel always comes back. Kuminga in Sacramento is plug and play. His best version arrives when he's not the primary decision maker, but the primary problem. Fox groups the defense, JK slices behind, and the weak side corner has to lie to itself just to get through a quarter. Sabonis at the elbows tosses him back cuts until the help cheats. Then Keegan catches clean triples. You can see it. That's why this rumor keeps ripping through the Bay like a Santa Ana wind. Monk in Golden State is a fit that would make Oakland nod and say, yeah, that plays. You want a second unit engine who doesn't turn the ball over like a slot machine, can dial it up to microwave without hijacking possessions, and has just enough shot creation juice to swing a Game 4 that's stuck at 86-86 with 4 minutes left. You also want someone who respects the math of Steph's gravity and Draymond's choreography. Monk reads tags. He screens as a guard without flinching. He'll spam the hammer with Clay to death if you show him a soft corner. On nights the threes don't visit, he can still press the paint and toss lobs your bigs can finish. That is not theoretical. That's a toolkit you can pack on the road. The risk ledger is not imaginary. Trading a homegrown wing with all NBA physical tools inside your conference, across the bridge in spirit, inside your television market's weather pattern. That's the kind of move you only make if you've mapped the dark corners. What happens if Kuminga turns the key in Sacramento and suddenly the Kings have the one thing they've lacked at crunch time? What happens if Monk is the best version of himself in January and a quieter version in May? What happens if the unprotected pick bounces 12th instead of 3rd and the Twitter lawyers call you names? The only antidote to those what-ifs is to remember who you are. The Warriors at their best bet on clarity. If you keep Kuminga, you're betting you can thread the needle of development and contention and have him dancing on the right stage by spring. If you move him, you're betting you can squeeze 2 more contending months out of a Steph core by surrounding it with shoulders that know exactly how to carry. Wait when the room gets loud. Let's be as clean as possible about the line between fact and speculation because we don't do bait and switch on this channel. Right now, this lives in the universe of credible chatter, not announcements. Conversations existed and cooled. Heat returned because timing and leverage changed. Sacramento remains a suitor. Golden State draws a thick line through the word protection. The rest is what happens when 2 front offices know exactly what the other wants, and neither wants to be the one who blinked first. If it were signed, you'd have the thumbnail already. It's not, but this is not the kind of smoke you get from someone's cousin's barber. It's the kind that comes from timing, need, and math. There's a human layer that never shows up in cap sheets. Kuminga's approach, his hunger, his tolerance for the sometimes boring discipline the Warriors system asks of wings, that's been the subplot of every week since he arrived. Some nights it's electric and obvious. Some nights the gears grind and you can feel the veteran core wanting him to skip a step he hasn't learned yet. None of that is a sin. The question is whether you can afford to watch him master the little things while Steph's calendar pages keep turning. The parallel question is whether you can stomach the sight of him mastering those things 31 exits away. There's also the part fans of a certain age feel in their bones. Rivalry. It's fashionable to pretend. NorCal teamwork is cute for TV. It's not. We Believe didn't high-five anyone down I-5, and the 73-9 banner didn't hang itself to make friends. The Kings have been the league's darling for 2 years, loud, fun, and relentless. Trading them a star in the making is something you only do if what you get back today and in 2030 gives you a better chance to shut the building up in May. The Bay owes itself that honesty. Drill down on protection because it's the whole story in one word. Protected picks are life jackets. Unprotected picks are truth serum. If the Kings refuse to strip the safety net off 2030, they're telling you they don't trust their future enough to bet the house. If the Warriors accept a protection, they're telling the fan base they believe more in the near-term floor than the long-term ceiling. It's a coherent position if you're certain the current core plus monk plus flexibility beats the West's monsters. It's a cowardly one if you're doing it to avoid an uncomfortable conversation with a young star about role and patience. That's why the answer here should be simple and hard at the same time. No protection or no trade. The calendar is its own character. Training camp chemistry is not an Instagram story. It's reps, language, trust. If you're going to rip out a major organ, do it before the body learns a stride it loves. Sacramento knows that. Golden State knows it better than anyone. Your options close a little every day you delay. That cuts both ways. The longer the Warriors live with Kuminga punching the rim in front of Steve Kerr's playbook, the more the room can tilt toward, we can win with this. The longer the Kings stare at their half-court tape, the more they tilt toward, we need the extra gear. Urgency isn't just about headlines. It's about habits. What does it look like if nothing happens? It looks like a test of the Bayesian brain. You take the first 20 games and read them like tea leaves. Does Kuminga's decision speed pop? Are the screening angles cleaner, the reads faster, the defense more disciplined? Has Monk's bag expanded or plateaued? Are the Warriors' non-Steph minutes survivable without another creator? Are the Kings' half-court last 2 minutes possessions still leaning on non-solutions? Both front offices will claim patience. Both will have their finger on the glass. Let me be the adult in the room for a second. You can love Kuminga and still understand why the phone rings. You can respect Monk and still insist on an unprotected pick. You can worship at the Church of Steph and still know that this isn't a fairy tale. It's a math exam. What you cannot do is pretend that development and contention don't sometimes want different things. The rare years you get both are the reason you tell your grandkids about a June parade. My opinion, stamped and ready, I only do it one way. Unprotected 2030, first to the Bay. Monk as the adult scorer who helps you survive the minutes that have killed seasons, and cap mechanics that don't weld you to a timeline you can't control. If any one of those three pillars cracks, I hold. I hold because the upside of Kuminga becoming a two-way star inside your jersey is higher than the safety of a protected pick and a good guard. I hold because a Steph core deserves both courage and wisdom. I also hold with my eyes open because if the early tape this season says the trust isn't mutual or the fit won't click fast enough, then you attack the market with your spine straight and your price firm. What I will not do is hand a rival a weapon and accept a tire patch in return. Your turn, Dub Nation. Would you ship Kuminga to Sacramento if, and only if, the pick is 2030 unprotected and Monk is the headliner with whatever small salaries it takes to thread the apron needle? Would you demand a swap on top, or is the clean unprotected enough? Or do you slam the door on a rival and bet the house that the kid makes the leap under our roof this spring? Tell me in the comments what you'd sign today and what you'd walk away from, no hedging. The Bay has never been afraid of a hard choice. The only sin is pretending it's easy. Here's the bottom line as we land the plane. This isn't about panic, and it isn't about revenge. It's about clarity. If you believe Kuminga grows fast enough to help Steph win now, you protect the seed and water the ground. If you believe Monk plus a naked 2030 rocket gives you better odds to survive the West and reload later, you meter a loco and make your rival prove it on the paperwork. Either path is defensible. Only one is honest to what this franchise has always been when it mattered: decisive, disciplined, and deaf to the noise when the stakes are real. Whatever happens next, make it a Warriors move, not a headline.